investing isn't just a one-stop shop. It really depends on the person, the situation, whatever your goals are in life. People don't understand why they're buying it, what the purpose of them buying it, how it fits into their larger plan, their smaller plan. When people just throw out numbers crazy because they don't understand the true intrinsic value of the property, that's where it can hit you and prevent you from going again sooner.
We believe every Australian deserves a right to own at the very least 5 investment properties. I'm Adrian Trimboli.
And I'm Frank Ambezi, and welcome to the Invest in You podcast.
I am extremely privileged to be bringing on now someone who's become a very, very good friend of mine, someone who I've worked with for now, I think 18 months. He's been part of the Fresh Start family. Came on as a buyer's agent, has very quickly taken on the lead buyer's agent of Fresh Start Advisory. But the reason why I'm bringing him on today is not only his portfolio, his property portfolio, his mindset around investing and his mindset around investing outside of just property, which I'm going to really dive into today. But please welcome Mr. Austin Crawter. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much, buddy.
I probably did a very bad intro for yourself, mate. So if you want to give me a quick introduction of who you are, what you do at Fresh Start, and who you are as a person overall.
Quick intro. I started investing when I was 20 years old. I think I bought my first property with my wife when I was 20 years old. Was not initially an investment, but it eventually turned into one, which we learned lessons from. Started a family, expanded the portfolio, and continue to expand the portfolio wherever we can, inside property, outside property, and help people along the way wherever I can.
I love it. I constantly refer to you as the most analytical person I've met, right? And you've made a very interesting decision to stop investing in property for the past 12 months. You've been investing into businesses. Can you tell me a little bit about that decision, the analytics and the research that goes into you getting into different types of businesses, and just give the viewers a bit of a taste as to why you've made a decision like that?
It's a great question. There's a few different reasons why. It was always part of the bigger plan. For me, investing isn't just a one-stop shop. It really depends on the person, the situation, whatever your goals are in life. My goals were always to get into business, and on top of that, stocks and whatever else I can. So it started off as property. Property for me was to leverage myself and my wealth into getting into other assets, which may not have the leverage side of it, but they have other benefits like cash flow, like a business has cash flow. So that's how I kind of went along the way.
Yep, awesome. What's the research like? So again, I'll take you guys into it a bit further. Austin buys businesses, turnkey businesses. Austin, I don't know if you're comfortable telling, but the level of research, level of due diligence that you conduct prior to actually going ahead and purchasing a business.
It's next level. It's dozens of hours as opposed to a property. I mean, buy a property, I know and can see things a lot quicker. But when it comes to businesses, there's so many different factors that go into it. It's not just the area which we understand. It's the business itself, it's the employees, what's going on, how involved is the manager, the financials, obviously a big part of that. Does it have enough buffers in place so that if you take a 20% due to whatever economic, macroeconomic or microeconomic, can it weather the storm? Has it weathered the storm? Is it increasing from a year-to-year basis? There's so many different factors going into it. Dozens of emails, phone calls, meetings with the owners, the business brokers, and that's all before we, that's just my side of the due diligence before we even go under contract. And then there's another few layers of due diligence even beyond that as well.
Awesome. I love it. It sounds like a lot more difficult, a lot more due diligence than a standard resi property. Maybe even a bit more than a commercial property, which you've been doing quite a bit of work on over the last 6 months. That's awesome. It's excellent. You mentioned right at the start you made a bad decision with your property. I think your first property. Tell me about your portfolio. Tell me about that bad decision. Tell me about some of the good decisions you've made.
Yep. Portfolio currently stands like we've over the couple of years, however many years since I was 20, so 7 years of investing in property. Our first property was an owner-occupier, but it was a decision of the heart, and that's a good thing to understand as well. It depends on what you're buying, reason for buying. So it was an owner-occupier. That's what it was. It was never intended to be an investment, but it was a one-bedroom apartment in a resort on the beach in the Gold Coast. Wife and I had a great life there. We ended up moving for work not long after that, so which was unforeseen, but it was to propel my wife's career, and we turned it into investment instead of selling it off after only 3 months of ownership or 6 months of ownership, whatever it was. So we turned that into investment, had it renting. Wasn't the ideal investment. It grew, but it wasn't like the thing that was going to just propel our wealth forward. So what we did, I think it was about 18 months later, we sold that, which was obviously a very good decision. We put that into a standalone house in a great area, 400K as it stands today. I think it's grown 90% over the last, half a decade or so. So done significantly well from that one decision of choosing to sell. If we kept that one investment, that one property, it still grew. I have checked over it, even though I've sold it, checked on it over the last couple of years to see how it measured up in comparison to my property that I bought instead, but it didn't measure up in comparison. There was no, it grew at 50% of that same pace essentially. So I guess the lesson was it wasn't the best investment, but the other side of it was it wasn't a mistake. I learned a valuable lesson, and I turned that negative into a massive win for my wealth and my portfolio.
Love it. It's definitely done better than my first property. So there you go. I think I know what you will answer for this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway because I think the viewer will benefit greatly from it. You deal with all types of clients, very experienced ones. I'd say probably 50-50 experience and then not so experienced. What are your thoughts on why? And I always refer back to the point of 2% of Australians have more than 4 properties. What are your thoughts on why so many Australians get it wrong with property?
Well, I think people don't understand why they're buying, and that goes for any asset. But let's talk about property. I think people don't understand why they're buying it, what the purpose of them buying it, how it fits into their larger plan, their smaller plan, and their cash flow budget from a day-to-day or week-to-week or year-to-year perspective as well. Managing all of those intrinsics along the way, you need to understand all of them. But don't go, a lot of people, they'll go on, we've both made mistakes, we've both learned from the mistakes, but don't go and buy something just because it's a cheap property. Like, that's the wrong mentality. And I think that's the way that a lot of people see something. They'll go and see, the average property in that area is selling at $500,000. This one's $400,000. That's a steal. Why is it $400,000? Is it the fact that it's sitting on a highway or a main thoroughfare? And that's the reason why it isn't where the standard is, I guess. So understanding that, because that 1% difference in price between that asset and the other one, you base that on the next 10 years. Well, that 1% compounds annually and it can make a big difference. Base it over an entire portfolio, 5 properties, 10 properties, whatever it is, over a lifespan, it can change millions of dollars to your wealth as well. So understanding when to change assets, going into duplexes or commercial or whatever it is, to put yourself in the best position from a cash flow perspective, and also from a safety perspective, and a portfolio as a whole is a big thing as well. Don't just keep on buying the same thing. Some people it works, some people it doesn't, but understanding when to buy the right asset and what asset to buy can change your portfolio and your borrowing capacity quite heavily as well.
I love it. I didn't actually think it was going to go that way. I thought it was going to go down to the diligence, which, again, I'll say it again, you are the most diligent person I've ever come across. It's the reason why I get you to purchase every single one of my properties.
But that also comes into it as well, like the average personal thing. Like when it comes to due diligence, it's a lot of clients or people they might just throw out and they'll look at different properties. Like that's awesome. It's like I'll show them this one. I'll show why this one is 10 times better and can benefit their portfolio massively across the long term as well.
Love it. Absolutely love it. As I just said right then, I mean, you purchased all 4 of my properties last year. We've got a team of 4 of us, and there's a big reason why I go to you, Mr. Diligent. Can you just roll them off your head? Just 3 to 4 things which you think a lot of investors out there tend to miss when it comes to doing due diligence on a property, and really the ones that are second nature to you that now you need to be doing, but a lot of people you think may miss.
Yeah, it's a great question. Contracts is probably a big part of it. Understanding what to put in a contract, because every state is completely different. So understanding the intrinsics of what to put in and what to look for inside of a contract, knowing when you might be getting, I guess not the deal you were hoping for, and it can bite you in the backside in the mostly the short term, but it can be long term as well.
Yep.
Speed to move as well is probably a big one. Clients or investors or people in general, they'll sit around and they'll see a property and they'll think, oh, hey, that's a great one, and I'll get to it tomorrow or the next day. 3 days later, it's already sold 2 days ago. So and there will always, if you're looking at an investment perspective, there'll always be another property. But if that's the mindset, you'll always be putting it off. If you're in the position and you want to build your portfolio, it's you have to act on it. That's probably one of the big things. The next thing is probably valuations. Time and time again, I hear stories from real estate agents that I deal with. I see it firsthand as well. People will go and they'll value a property, and let's say it's listed at $500,000, and they'll think they'll make an offer above that, and it's a $510,000 offer, and they think that's an absolutely awesome offer. Sells for $600,000. That'll happen 5 times later. They'll miss out. It'll be 3 months down the track, and then they'll go gung ho, and they're like, "Oh, we keep on missing out by a large amount. Let's go for, let's make an offer that just blows everything out of the water," and they make a $650 offer on a $600,000 property. They secured it, but in that same time frame, they've lost out on the growth, and they've also, in a sense, overpaid dramatically. If it's $10,000 here or there, but when people just throw out numbers crazy because they don't understand the true intrinsic value of the property, that's where it can hit you and prevent you from going again sooner.
Yep. And affect the growth and affect the yields and affect absolutely everything with it. I love it. I love it. There was a few things in there, a few golden nuggets. People want to hear that back. As I said, you've been with Fresh Start now with 18 months or longer, a bit longer.
I think it's just over, but yeah, it's gone quick.
Okay, awesome. You were obviously very experienced prior to coming into FSA. Just a few lessons that you now take away, and try focus more into the kind of the investing side of things, whether it's mindset, whether it's way of looking at a certain property. Just 2 to 3 lessons that you've taken just from being part of buying property every single day, part of a company that does buy property every day.
Communication is probably a big thing, whether it's communication with us or whoever it is, your spouse, being on the same page. That's probably a big part of it, because everybody needs to be on the same page so that you can act fast, secure the property, get the deal over the line in the best manner possible. Trusts, so that also goes both ways as well. If everyone's transparent, everyone knows what they're looking for, you can always achieve the best outcome for every party involved. And understanding your goal as well. If you know what you want, you'll be able to go out and get it faster, and you're not going to screw around. You're not going to waste time on it. I'm not going to waste time. The buyer isn't going to waste time. So I guess I'm speaking from a client-facing perspective. But yeah, those three items, you'll be able to do a lot more within your portfolio in a shorter amount of time. And on top of that, I guess it comes back to acting. If you're in a position you want to propel your portfolio forward, jump in, have a crack. Obviously do your due diligence, or have someone on your team like us who does it for you, but jumping in and actually doing it and keep on moving forward. If you slow down or take to, I guess, don't go fast enough, you'll be missing out on 10%, 20% growth year on year. If you could purchase another one next year, but you waited another 3 years, obviously safety within your family or your household budget comes into play. But if you don't utilize that 2 years there, you could have missed out on an extra property in that time. You could have missed out on extra $200,000 worth of growth in that time, which as it compounds over the next decade, it adds up to be $1 million.
Absolutely. And it just pushes those goals backwards ultimately.
Exactly. Yeah. And depending on what time frame you're sitting at, if you're 30 years old and you want to have X amount of properties unencumbered by the age of 50, or if you're 50 years old and you want to secure some financial freedom or whatever it is, build your wealth in the next 10 years because you're running out of time, it all plays a part. The sooner you can do it, the better you will be in the long run as well.
100%. And I don't know if it's my quote or if I took it from somewhere. Just invest when you have the ability to. Don't really focus on interest rate. I mean, focus on them, right, and have them in your mind, but don't let them be the deterrent. What's happening in overseas? What's happening with the US president? What's happening here? If you do your due diligence, and we're very lucky we're in Australia, we've got a very bulletproof real estate, especially residential market. So I love it. I love it. You mentioned clients a few times. You've now purchased, I think, 3 properties. 3 properties would be the most for the one client. Yes?
Yeah, like we have clients who have, a higher amount, but ones that I've taken specifically with me alone, who we have clients who have like 5 properties with us, but yeah, clients who I've taken by myself along the ride and they came in fresh start. I think we're up to 3, but multiple sets of 3. Multiple clients have 3.
Awesome. So purchasing 3 properties for the one client over an 18 months, like what? And the reason why I'm asking this question is because a lot of the clients that you end up working with are going to be watching this video. So this is almost pointed right at you guys. What makes a awesome buyer's agent and client relationship? What makes it run really smoothly and just makes it easy for both parties?
It pretty well come down to the things I mentioned earlier as well, just like the trust, the rapport between both parties, the relationship there, the transparency, I guess, as well. And it goes into multiple different avenues, but that's probably the biggest thing. The better of a connection that you have with the client, the more trust that's built between you. And obviously that evolves as well. The first one, there's trust there, but the second one, there's got clients coming back like, presented property, yep, trust you, you've already achieved 15% growth or 20% growth in that first one, and that was only in a 6-month period or 12-month period. Trust you, let's get the second one, and the third one's even easier. So it becomes easier and easier, and the growth happens, once again, easier and easier as well at a faster pace.
I love it. Aussie, we've kept it to 20 minutes, which I think is absolutely perfect. I appreciate personally what you've done for my own portfolio. I appreciate the way that you show up. Appreciate the fact that you're most diligent person I've ever met in my life. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing how the businesses go, looking to see your portfolio, looking forward to you getting to Europe and taking your family away and doing all the things that we've spoken about. But yeah, ultimately just watching you grow as an investor. And as a man, I'm very lucky to be here and watch it all, my friend. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, mate. Thank you.